Hey everyone, it's lovely to see you today. Welcome to another Dev Corner. I'm Tom from the Battlefield community team here at DICE. Today we're talking about update 2.1, and with me are Sashank, lead level designer, and Alex, weapon games designer. Folks, welcome. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So we're about to head into the first update for Season 2, update 2.1. Before we go there, can you tell us about your learnings for the Season 2 launch? So Sashank, maybe start with you. How's the stranded reception been for players?
Really good. I liked it. I was grinding on that a lot, trying to get some XP. Players are liking it as well. We looked at some telemetry and some numbers. Balance is about the same for Breakthrough and for Conquest, where it's 54 and about 45. So attacking team is about 45, defending team is 55. So we're looking at the balances, but overall, really, really good.
Great. And I think we have some improvement opportunities for the map itself. Like, are we changing something about, for example, the breakthrough sectors?
Yes.
Or?
So what we saw was Sector 1 was favoring defenders, and the last sector was favoring the attackers. Okay. So we're going to look into how can we balance it where first sector is a bit more easier for attackers and the last sector is a bit more easier for defenders. Yeah. That's what we're looking into right now. And also we saw some players finding some cheeky places to hide. Yeah. So we're going to look into that, what we can do about that. But it was a bit unfair where people were hiding on top, shooting people at the bottom. Do we want to allow that? Let's see.
Okay, great changes. And Alex, what about you? For 3 new weapons in Season 2, the M40, Advances, and PF51, can you tell us more about how you feel the reception has been in the new season?
So far, the reception has been great. I think like the most interesting one has been definitely the Advances. And we know why. But we also have very interesting options in the terms of the sidearm, that it's like a very unique, large magazine, full auto sidearm. So it's new content, it's interesting content, and even though there have been some inconveniences that we're fixing in this update and in the next one, we have high expectations for them on the long run.
And I think in this update we are fixing the headshot multipliers for both the AM40 and the Advances, which had an SMG headshot multiplier.
Correct.
New update, renewal rework, Polaris Razor, and new vault weapon. So let's dive into what's new. Let's start with the renewal map rework, Sashank. So we had Kaleidoscope in the last update. Yeah. Can you tell us more about what players can expect from renewal once it goes live?
So the renewal, I would say we have taken a bigger step than we did for Kaleidoscope, where Kaleidoscope it worked. It was a small map, and we just had to add cover and military assets, and it was pretty good. With renewal, I think it was a bigger task because the map itself was quite large. Oh. And then we started with the concept of, do we need it to be this big? What can we do with it? Does it need to have all the flags? Yeah. So what we just went in and said, let's remove 2 flags. Let's make it a bit more linear, give it a bit more flow. So what we did was, we removed the flags. On the desert side, there were some flags on the military outpost. So that's gone. On the green side, there was a big warehouse. Really good space for CQC, but it was quite far away, not too many players. So we just remove these 2. What that gives us is, that gives us more asset count, like I said in the last interview, where we need asset count to add more things back into the level. So with those 2 gone, we can add more cover, more military assets to the base level itself. And then if you look at specific flags, what we did for Breakthrough was we have really spent time on the solar cells. There is way more military things around it. Mm-hmm. With the battery farm, it was a bit too complicated. There were too many things happening there. It was way too busy. So we have simplified that whole space. On the green side, we have added better paths between the flags. We have added a new flag in between 2 of the flags just to connect them a bit better. Yeah. And on the interiors of the building, we have added way more cover. It felt a bit empty. So overall, a lot of things happening on each individual flags. We have removed some flags that were not needed, just to tighten the whole thing up.
Okay, great.
Should be good.
So overall, more cover, terrain elevation,
yes,
better flow between flags as a summary. Great. So Alex, what do you expect from gunplay on renewal now that's been reworked?
Well, thanks to the new improved combat distances that are between the flags, we expect higher usage of DMRs in plenty of the sectors. So hopefully those will come up a little bit in this map. Additionally, the cover added around the flags, the combat spaces are way, way better. So we expect like more opportunities for shotguns and SMGs to be brought into the limelight.
And Sashank, any favorite things about the new renewal? Anything you want to take away from players?
The solar cells, where it just looks cool.
Yeah.
If that is something where we did a big military pass,
Yeah.
it looks like war is happening. The HQ has been moved as well. So as an attacker, when you come in, it feels like, whoa, defenders are hiding behind this. We have to break into it. It just feels nice. And then, like I said, let's look at the 2LM auto in there, how it works. Should be interesting.
Okay, great. So folks, as a reminder, there is a 24/7 playlist available right now for Renewal and Stranded. So if you want to check it out, you can play that. That brings us to the new vehicle in this update, the Polaris Razor.
Yeah.
It's an in-world vehicle. Shashank, can you tell us more about how it works?
Yeah, so what we're looking into is the balance between light vehicles and in-world vehicles, right? So as a concept, light vehicles are good. You have the LATV, you have the hovercraft, but you got to call it in. So that is not a point of friction, but that is one more step you got to do. With in-world, it's always in the level itself. You just see it, you jump into it. So we were like, can we add more vehicles into it? And then we're like, hey, let's have the Polaris. Super nice, it's fast, nimble, try it out. I like it.
We've had a lot of fun with it in the places. It's super fast, just racing around the battlefield. Like, I've enjoyed it a lot. Alex, new vault weapons. We're adding 3 of them in this update. The P90, Gold Sniper Magnum, and M1911. Can you talk us about why we picked these and how they will play on the battlefield?
Yes, of course. For the second batch of vault weapons that we're adding to the game, we wanted to focus on the popular picks. Like iconic picks, something that people have been crying for, and the most mentions that they get are in Discord or Twitter. So for this update, we have the P90, which is a fan favorite SMG. We have the M1911, that is like a super famous and a staple of the Battlefield franchise handgun. And we're also adding the Gold Sniper Magnum, which is hopefully going to bring a little bit of nostalgia to the people that used to snipe a lot with it in Bad Company. So yeah, that was the intention behind the 3 picks.
And what is your expectation for how they'll play on the battlefield, since we're taking them from Portal, so their balance in all-out warfare will be a bit different?
Correct. So we're taking some learnings that we got from the first 2, and we're implementing them on these 3. And this is something that is going to keep improving as we learn how to bring them up to par with what we want with Battlefield 2042. So yeah.
Great. Shashank, favorite new weapon?
Ooh, the question is, like, I love the P90. I used to play a lot of BF4. So the question is, how does the P90 fit in with, say, the PBX or the existing SMGs?
So I think the P90 will fit nicely between what currently is a space that the PBX holds and the MP9 holds. So it's a fast fire, big magazine. Compared to the PP19, it has way higher rate of fire. So it's a little bit more aggressive, but its reload is also more cumbersome. We think that it's a very good pair with a new weapon, the PF51, because both of them have the same magazine. So it's kind of bit interesting to see that the same magazine adapt to 2 different weapons for different utilities.
Would love to see them, in the PF51 versus the P90, to see who wins there. So I'd also love to talk about the current vault weapons, so the M16 and M60, which were added alongside Season 2. Alex, how do you feel about the current gameplay for those already existing vault weapons? Do you feel they're performing well?
We have mixed opinions on the matter.
Okay.
We definitely overestimated the state that they were when we released them into 2042. We hope that they will be more on par with the experiences that we had, but we are taking some learnings, we're hearing feedback from the community, and we're implementing it in this update and the next one to bring them up to par. The M16, I think it's still in a pretty good shape. It can compete against the other offerings that we have in the assault rifles. The M60, however, has too little rate of fire. Okay. And its damage output, it's definitely not in line with what it should be. Okay, so right now you feel they are not powerful enough compared to the already existing 2042 weapons, and we want to bring them in line. I will say that they are whelming. Okay, they are whelming. Okay, great, thank you. And we've had some questions about the design intent for how we go about progression and attachments for the vault weapons. For example, when you bring your vault weapon into 2042,
you already have all the attachments. Obviously, we made some choices there, why we did this. Can you talk us through those?
Of course, that was a contentious point with the community. So our logic, our thought process there was that these weapons are available to all players inside Portal. And they have all the attachments already unlocked. They don't have progression. And we thought that if we bring them into 2042, into All Out Warfare, with a progression track, with grind on top of them, it doesn't feel fair. Because they can jump into Portal and just play with them, customize and everything. So it feels a little bit unfair and restrictive that something that they have access to right now, they won't be able to use it on the other side for some arbitrary decision. And on the same time, we don't want to add the 2042 attachments to these weapons, because on one side, it just takes away from the nostalgic element that they have, like the weapons, like you remember them from the original games. And on the other side, we have attachments that basically occupy the same design space as the classic ones. So we don't want to dilute the experience with like double the scopes of the same magnification, double the grips with the same modifiers and so on.
So we want to maintain the authenticity of the weapons while making them readily available for play, so you don't feel like you have to grind for them again when you already had them in Portal. Great, thank you. What about more Vault weapons down the line for updates? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you will continue. You can expect more weapons to be released in every consecutive update.
Awesome. Then I'd also love to talk about current weapon balance in general. Where do you feel our overall gun balance is done very well right now? Can you give us an example of a specific gun where you feel like, hey, this is where we want all guns on the battlefield to be?
I have a couple. So the M5A3, I think that after the changes that we did to how the CQB munition works, I think that it's in a pretty good place. It's a weapon that can perform well in a different amount of situations, and it doesn't feel oppressive to fight against. It has counters, it has other weapons that can definitely outperform it in some situations. And of course, my favorite pick, which is the AC-42. I think it's a fantastic weapon. It feels nice to shoot. It feels good to use it all around the map. And again, it doesn't feel oppressive, right? Where we have other weapons that definitely we feel that they are encroaching into other archetypes too much, or that they become like a default option if you want to go for this archetype.
Okay. Shashank, your favorite or favorite?
I mean, I'm PBX for life. I tried the MP90, because everybody's like, it's good, or the K30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was too difficult for me, so I went back to the PBX.
PBX.
I'm trying the 12M Auto, because I think it's a bit really good.
Super strong.
It's super strong.
Super strong.
So yeah, 12M Auto just feels nice. You shoot it, the sound, everything just feels good. But yeah, PBX.
Okay, great. And Alex, in terms of which guns do you feel are performing too well right now? Do you have some examples?
Well, yeah, the Avances is definitely my first pick. Even though it's not using the correct headshot multipliers that it should have, and it will have after this update, we still think that it's too strong. And the identity for these weapons in this update, in the Season 2, was that they should be hybrids. They should be weapons that extend beyond their comfort zone. In the case of the Avances, it's supposed to be a super light LMG that encroaches inside the assault rifle design space. In that particular case, it did it way too much. So right now, it doesn't feel like an LMG encroaching into AR. It feels like an AR with a very big magazine. So not great.
Okay. So the headshot multiplier that was bugged is already fixed in this update?
Should be.
In the following update, we can expect further balance changes for the Avances as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Not only for the Avances, but for like the whole kit.
Yeah, so okay, you already went into my next question. What further gun changes can we expect down the line?
We cannot commit to a specific timeline, but we are taking a closer look to shotguns specifically as to the amount of pellets that we fire on each shell. This is to improve hit registration. Okay. So also to see how their performance scales on distance. We feel that some shotguns, under certain conditions, they perform too well at distances that they shouldn't. Okay. Especially since now the maps are being reworked to have more close combat situations. Yeah. They will have to carve a better niche. Aside from that, we're also taking a look at the LMGs and how we can make them feel more like a heavy weapon and not an assault rifle with a big magazine.
Alex, thanks. That was a good overview of current weapon balance for all weapons and the new Vault weapons.
Thank you.
Folks, this is a summary of the update that's available right now. So it's the Renewal Rework, the Polaris Razor, and 3 new Vault weapons. So we're looking forward to seeing you try those out, and obviously give us your feedback once you have had a chance to play. With each update, we're also adding further balance changes. So I'd like to talk through a few of those. Shashank, going to start with you. So when we released Season 1, we added 2 new stealth helicopters to the battlefield, and we noticed that they were overall very dominant against both infantry and vehicles, and our launch attack helicopters, which is the Apache and the Super Holcomb, maybe weren't picked enough anymore. We're making some changes there to make them stronger. Can you?
Yeah, so basically what we want to make sure is what a vehicle is supposed to do is what players choose it for. So we're making sure the choppers which are good against vehicles are actually good against vehicles. That's the balance we're doing, where it's going to be much easier to kill vehicles with these 2 attack helicopters.
Thank you. So that change is coming to the 127mm anti-vehicle rocket pack, which is becoming stronger against vehicles. Then we're also making changes to the transport helicopters. So the name should give it away. They're transport helicopters, but
and so this is a very interesting one where we have different opinions on this thing. Where how we designed it was it's a transport helicopter. It's meant to take a lot of players from A to B. It's not meant to kill players on the way there. It's meant to just defend itself and take players A to B. What my friend here was doing was just using it in a very different way. How would you use it?
It has a lot of guns, so I want to use them on players.
Yeah. So what we've done is I would say we have nerfed it in a way where it has guns, it's going to have everything. It's just the distance has been brought in a bit. So it's more of a defensive weapons and not an offensive weapon. So that's the kind of balancing we're going with.
Yeah, and it is more accurate now, but the range has just been taken back a bit.
Yes.
And this change is coming to the 6.62mm minigun pod. So that will be less powerful at range than before. Another change we're making in this update, and we had a lot of feedback from a lot of players that they were experiencing mouse input lag during gameplay. So we made some improvements here. We hope you notice a difference, that it feels better. Let us know once you've tried it out. Does mouse input feel better? Do you experience less lag? We're very much looking forward to your feedback here. So let us know if further changes are necessary. Shashank, another update for you. The Irish APS-36 shoot-down Sentinel.
Oh, yes.
So it didn't block everything. Can you fix something there?
I would jump into Stranded 24/7 breakthrough to get some XP for Irish. I want to get T1 on that one. Put the Sentinel. Somebody comes up with a grenade launcher, doesn't block it.
Yeah.
Then I look at this person over here, Alex, what's going on? So yeah, it's been fixed. So now it blocks everything that it needs to block, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, we had a lot of feedback from you here, so this is fixed in this update. Another change is to the collision behavior for soldiers. So we noticed that when, for example, you stand in a narrow corridor, especially on Stranded, this happens a lot, you would become blocked by friendly players.
Exactly.
So we made some changes here.
Improved the behavior where you won't get blocked by friendly players anymore. You just slide by them. So in tight corners, especially like on Stranded, it's going to be much more cleaner in terms of navigation.
Okay. So yeah, it annoyed me personally quite a lot in like the hallway. Like you're trying to fire at an enemy, but like if someone stands against you, like you would get pushed back. So that's much smoother now.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's a small quality of life, but it's going to make things much nicer when you play.
Especially around choke points, the difference is massive.
Then I want to start looking ahead a little bit. So Shashank, you were on the Season 1 stream, I think, and we talked a little bit about the changes we're making to vehicle categorizations. Yeah. So back then it was a concept, and we've started testing this, so we're a bit further in. Can you talk us what we're doing there?
So we have been testing it internally. Like I said, it's a big change. It's going to take time. What we have done for now is seeing where should we put the vehicles, where should we move them. So we have 3 new categories that we added to the thing, where we have the jets, it's its own thing. Then we have armored transport, and we also have light armor. And right now we're just like making sure how is it balanced? Does it actually make sense? Does it play good? So that's where we are. We still don't know timelines and stuff, but we are testing it internally. That's where we are right now.
Okay. So if you have feedback about this, where you feel the vehicle should be per category, so example, jets, helicopters separate, let us know. We're still testing it, so we still have time to make some further improvements there. Then the next map rework that's coming is for Orbital. So can you maybe give us a little sneak peek about what we changed there, what to expect?
Orbital is a map that is already, I would say, in a pretty decent place. What we're going to look into is, can we make it even better? So things like, can we make the map a bit smaller? We have added a new flag to connect the cryo facility to the rocket space. I think it's super nice. It lets you access the tunnels easier. That's all I'm going to say for now. Another thing we're looking into is the space between the hangar and the launch pad. The feedback we got from players is that it was quite open, not enough cover. So we have invested a lot into not only making that space good for cover and traversing, but also pushing the war-torn feel in that space. Yeah. That's my favorite space so far. It looks really, really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the area between the hangar and the rocket launch pad is just such a large runway, but all the assets we added, and like it makes you feel like something has happened here.
Exactly.
For you, Alex, looking ahead at the future for weapons, weapon updates, anything you want to share? Or anything more?
We have exciting things coming. Like, of course, every season new weapons coming, and now every patch and season more vault weapons coming in. Going to be available. As the patch progresses and as the vault weapon amount starts increasing, then more balance changes to bring them in line with 2042 are going to be addressed. And we are taking a look at, like I mentioned before, the weapon categories to make sure that we reduce a little bit the encroachment of weapon archetypes into other archetypes, combat distances, damage amounts that they shouldn't have.
So an SMG should feel like an SMG, not like an assault rifle?
Correct.
Okay, that's great. That's it for today, folks. So, Shashank, thank you very much for being here. Alex, thank you for being here as well.
Pleasure.
Thank you, and see you on the battlefield.